Hi, so this week I wanted to talk a little bit about the effect of pets. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. This is Poppy, and yeah, she's got her back to the camera. So she's 2 years old, and I got her a couple of years ago, and she's been very helpful for my anxiety. The act of petting a cat is actually very soothing. Of course, she's wanting to get into bed. It's freezing here. I don't know what the temperature is, but yeah, it's quite cold. Anyway, so one of the things that we had here on television was an ad for a retirement village, and in it, one of the staff was trying to encourage an elderly lady to join in activities or just socialise with others in the elderly community. But of course, the lady was reluctant. Anyway, the caregiver notices photographs of several cats as she leaves, and so in the next scene, Mary is taken into a common room, and they shown a poster saying the retirement home is getting a cat, and residents are allowed to choose it. Anyway, in the next scene, Mary's once again in a room, but she spots a kitten chasing something in the hallway. She wants to see the kitten, but realises she has to use her walking frame. And so she goes out to the common room to find another resident playing with the kitten. And then in the next scene, she's out in the garden chatting to someone. She looks happy and all that, and she doesn't even need her walker. So while it's a scripted scenario, it shows that there's something that mental health professionals have been advocating for years. So pets actually do make great companions. I'm not saying that you should go out and get a cat, because if you're not a cat person, don't worry about that. If you're able to have a dog and you like dogs, then absolutely. There's a lot of training for animals now that can help people with PTSD and anxiety, but there's also training to help with chronic illnesses like epilepsy or diabetes. And there's also this story that I heard about Freud, that he had these two dogs and he'd bring them in with sessions with patients. But towards the end of his life, he actually had throat cancer. I think it was throat cancer. And he was a smoker of cigars, and I have my thing about smoking. I hate it, but anyway, what I read was that they thought that the smoking actually caused this cancer, and part of his jaw had to be removed. So of course he was in awful pain. And anyway, he began to find comfort in the company of his dogs, and he saw that they actually helped relieve some of the psychological stress of his condition. So as far as I know, he was actually writing a paper on the topic, but he died before it could be completed. So the whole theory that animals can be used in therapeutic interventions, it's been going on for quite a while, in fact at least 200 or 300 years. And there's this organisation that I found in Washington State in the United States. It's called Pet Partners, and they believe in the human-animal bond, and they believe that it is actually good for people with mental wellness issues. I mean, I've been a cat person most of my life. When I was 7, my dad's work, they had this cat that lived in the warehouse, and she had a litter of kittens, and I begged my dad for one. And of course he was like, no, you're not going to have one. No, we don't want another cat, because we already had a black and white cat. And being a 7-year-old, of course, I wanted what I wanted. I didn't actually ask my parents for a lot of things, as far as I can remember. But anyway, a few weeks after that, he actually brought home a white cat, and she lived 14 years, and yeah, and I actually still miss her to this day. I had this other cat once, Sydney, her name was. She was a tortoiseshell, and she was very touchy with certain people. She was not the kind of cat that enjoyed closeness with people. But this one particular day, I actually had a bad migraine. It was so bad that I had to leave work and I had to go home and just lie down. Well, Sydney gets up on the bed, she curls up with me, and into my arm, and she goes to sleep. So with Poppy, she likes her snuggles. She likes cuddles, and yeah, I find that actually nice and calming. And even though she still acts very much like a kitten, when she wants a cuddle, it's actually very beneficial for me. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, really. If you're thinking about having a pet helping you to manage anxiety and depression, I do suggest you look into it. Don't just sort of limit yourself to a cat or a dog. If you like other things, I mean, dare I say it, even rats or guinea pigs. Yeah, whatever actually takes your fancy, I guess. But there are some places where they say that they're not allowed pets, especially if they're renting a property, and that's one thing that you can actually talk to your counsellor, if you have one, about, and they can actually help with writing a letter and maybe getting the landlord to make some kind of concession. Yeah, so anyway, that's pretty much this week. The organisation again is called Pet Partners, so look them up, or maybe go and talk to the SPCA if you're interested in getting a pet to help you with depression and anxiety. And that's it this week.